7 Eyewitness News is following breaking news. We want to show you a picture right now of escaped prisoner David Sweat. He is now in custody after being shot by police in northern New York. You can see he is wearing camouflage right now. He is badly bleeding, according to our sources. He was walking down a rural road when he was spotted by a state police trooper, Jay Cook, from Troop B. Sweat started to run away, we're told, and that's when the trooper shot him.
That's right. We're continuing to follow this breaking news tonight. David Sweat captured, having been on the run for 23 days. Law enforcement sources tell us Sweat was bleeding badly. He was taken to the hospital for treatment under heavy police guard. Now, we're getting a look tonight at exactly where the escapees have been over the past few days, and we want to put that all for you in context right now. Take a look here at this map behind me. You can see this is actually Malone, an area here in Malone. We're going to try and see if we can get it to back out a little bit. And there we go. Okay, so here you can see where Malone is. This is where actually the border of Canada is. Where David Sweat was shot is only 5 miles or so away from the border of Canada. So police do believe that's where he was headed, and it's only 6 miles away from the town of Malone, and that's where Richard Matt was shot and killed earlier this week, again on Friday. So you can see they really didn't get very far from where they originally were in Dannemora, New York.
Richard Matt, of course, was shot and killed in Malone. It was David Sweat who was captured by state police today, who was in the town of Constable. Again, we're told this is just miles away from the Canadian border. This latest development, of course, puts an end to a massive 3-week manhunt that stretched from Dannemora, New York, where they escaped the Clinton Correctional Facility, all the way here to western New York. David Sweat was taken from the scene today to a hospital in Malone. We want to show you some raw video right now that's coming into our newsroom right now. We believe David Sweat was taken away in an ambulance. He was bloody. He was shot several times. He was under heavy state trooper guard. Of course, David Sweat was on the run for 23 days. The convicted killer wearing all camouflage, as we told you. Right now, his condition is unknown. This is some live video right now from the Alice Hyde Medical Center. This is where David Sweat was taken after he was shot at least twice by New York State police troopers this afternoon. We're told that this is an area that is under lockdown right now. It's under heavy guard. In fact, I reached out to the Alice Hyde Medical Center emergency room just a little while ago. Whoever answered the phone there hung up on me when I was asking questions. Obviously, this is a very intense moment for them. Law enforcement officials tell us David Sweat was shot twice. He was coughing up blood as he was taken to this hospital in Malone.
And I'm Hannah Bueller, continuing to follow this breaking news tonight on 7 Eyewitness News. As Ed and Katie mentioned, after 23 days on the run, 23 days, David Sweat has now been shot and captured by police in Constable, New York. That was right in front of the home where an eyewitness I spoke with, Mike Doyle, lives. This is in the 600 block of that street, Coveytown Road, right in front of Doyle's home. Constable, it's only 4 miles away from the Canadian border. Now, Doyle tells me today he was watching TV. His wife came into the room and she said several police officers were out on the street. He immediately tells me he jumped out of the house and heard 2 loud bangs, bang, bang, coming from the wooded area next to his home. That's when he tells me he saw more than 60 New York State troopers, U.S. Marshals, and Border Protection agents surrounding an area right in front of his home. Here's what he had to say.
It was just 2 quick bangs, and then I took off outside.
Did you talk to any of the troopers and ask them what was going on?
Yes, and I got a thumbs up by one of them, because I said, "Did you get him?" And he turned around and gave us a thumbs up. And then I talked to 2 U.S. Marshals, one from Missouri and the other one from Louisiana, and they said they shot twice. One guy hit him, and he is on his way to the hospital, but he is not dead.
Doyle says he didn't personally see David Sweat, but he saw the ambulance coming out of the woods to take Sweat away. You'll hear more of this incredible eyewitness account coming up later on 7 Eyewitness News. Now, just 6 miles away from where David Sweat was captured, I spoke via phone with Rose. She's a bartender at Eyewitness in Malone, where on Friday the other escaped prisoner, Richard Matt from Tonawanda originally, was shot and killed. The Eyewitness in Malone has served as a gathering place for police to rest, get a hot meal. She tells me when the room heard about Sweat's capture, the entire place lit up with excitement and cheer. She says it's been amazing to see this small community come together.
We have, as of right now, delivered over 1,800 meals today, all like Paul Smith's and to Chateauguay, and but our community has been so awesome. We were so surprised of the donations and the people coming to help us, and just people calling from Vermont, and it's been very awesome. It's heartwarming.
Rose tells me that ham dinner that has been prepared for police, it's going to be extra special tonight, she says, because of the good news. She says she can finally rest now that Prison Break New York is finally over. Of course, that is being trending now on social media, Prison Break New York. Rose and many other neighbors I spoke with today echoing the same sentiments tonight. People living in the area tell me they've been on edge. They've been on the edge of their seat since Friday when, of course, Richard Matt was shot, and they knew that these two men were in the area where they live. The tough part, of course, not knowing throughout the weekend where David Sweat was, but now, tonight, they can rest easy. Hannah Bueller, 7 Eyewitness News.
And meantime, we're learning more tonight about Sweat's fellow escapee. Richard Matt was shot and killed by law enforcement Friday, and we've now learned more about his final moments alive.
7 Eyewitness News reporter Jill Perkins has new details tonight about Richard Matt's death. Jill?
Well, Richard Matt was shot 3 times in the head in the town of Malone Friday afternoon. We're now learning he was not in good physical condition leading up to his death. Matt's official autopsy conducted yesterday. His cause of death was severe skull fractures and brain injuries, a result of those 3 gunshot wounds to the head. His body also had bug bites on it, blisters, and minor abrasions from living out in the woods for weeks. A preliminary investigation shows tonight that Matt was shot with a semi-automatic weapon by a U.S. Customs and Border Protection Tactical Unit member. Toxicology tests still pending right now. Matt is from Western New York, as we mentioned. He was an inmate at Clinton Correctional Facility, sentenced for killing his North Tonawanda boss, William Rickerson, back in 1997. Matt escaped alongside Sweat back on June 6th. The autopsy again conducted yesterday at the Albany Medical Center. Again, we're learning tonight it was 3 gunshot wounds to the head that killed Richard Matt. Jill Perkins, 7 Eyewitness News.
Jill, thank you. This intense manhunt spanned hundreds of miles with more than 1,000 members of law enforcement from across the country searching difficult terrain for these 2 escaped inmates. I want to tell you now how the search progressed. It was in the early hours of June 6th when prisoners Richard Matt and David Sweat were discovered missing, the 2 executing a dramatic, well-organized escape from the Clinton Correctional Facility in Dannemora. June 12th, prison employee Joyce Mitchell is arrested, accused of helping the inmates escape, allegedly giving them tools to help cut through prison walls. It's also claimed the prison tailor had a sexual relationship with Matt.
She'd bring him things like food. She'd bring him art supplies. We used to call her his boo.
June 21st, search crews make a dramatic shift, scouring the Allegheny County town of Friendship. This after a woman reported seeing 2 men matching Sweat and Matt's descriptions walking near some railroad tracks.
Man with a red scruffy beard, dark blue hoodie, was working his way up the tracks. My dog started barking. He immediately turned around, pulled up his hoodie, did not want to be seen.
That tip led nowhere. It was June 22nd, though, when investigators got a DNA match confirming the escaped killers were in the Saranac Lake area. That sample was taken from a cabin that was broken into.
We will continue to ensure to the public that every sighting or lead that is reported will be investigated until exhausted.
June 24th, a second prison employee is arrested and charged with helping the fugitives escape.
He will continue to cooperate. He's a man of integrity who made some mistakes.
Gene Palmer has pleaded not guilty. He is now suspended without pay. June 26th, Richard Matt is shot and killed by law enforcement in the small town of Malone in upstate New York. Now, just 2 days later, June 28th, David Sweat is shot by New York State police officers in the town of Constable, just 5 miles from the Canadian border. Sweat, badly bleeding, was rushed to a hospital for treatment. And in that picture, you could see David Sweat was bloody, badly bleeding, I'm told by my law enforcement sources. He was wearing all camo, of course, completely different clothing from when he escaped from the Clinton Correctional Facility 23 days ago. With this latest development, Governor Cuomo is expected to give us more information about 6:45 tonight. He's traveling from New York City to Malone, where this hospital is, where David Sweat will be treated. 7 Eyewitness News will carry that press conference live right here on 7 ABC.
And we're taking a look tonight at why the two escapees were in the maximum security prison in the first place. David Sweat was serving a life sentence at the Clinton Correctional Facility for killing a sheriff's deputy in Broome County, New York. In 2002, Sweat and an accomplice shot Deputy Kevin Tarsia. They ran his body over with a car after. He and his accomplice were apprehended shortly after that happened. They both confessed to the crime. Sweat pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. He was given a life sentence. And Richard Matt is a Tonawanda native. He was serving 25 years to life in prison after kidnapping and beating his former boss to death. In 1997, Matt attacked his 72-year-old boss, William Rickerson, who was from North Tonawanda. He tortured him in an attempt to find money that he believed Rickerson had hidden somewhere. He later snapped his neck with his hands, dismembered his body, then fled to Mexico to avoid being captured. It was then in Mexico where Matt killed another man after getting into a bar fight. He was put into Mexican prison, then turned over to the U.S. in 2007. He was tried for Rickerson's murder, found guilty, and sent to prison.
Once again, 7 Eyewitness News continues to follow breaking news tonight. Here's a picture of escaped prisoner David Sweat taken just moments after he was taken back into police custody today in the northern New York town of Constable.
Sweat shot by police and taken to a hospital in Malone, where fellow fugitive Richard Matt was shot and killed Friday. We're continuing, of course, to follow this breaking story. We'll cut into our programming at 6:45 for a scheduled news conference as police will update us on the situation. You're watching 7 Eyewitness News at 6. Stay with us.